Hello, everybody, and welcome to Shut Up and Let Me Take Your Picture. We are on our second podcast episode, or I guess episode 1, technically. But this time we're in a car. Jarrett, where are we?
We're in a car on the way to a wedding.
Bryce, where are we?
We're in a wedding on the way to a car.
This is why I don't give you the microphone. But yeah, we're here. We're on our way to a wedding, and it's very exciting. We're going to be talking about some very specific topics today about wedding preparation, trauma, mainly just gear trauma.
Oh yeah.
I feel like, Jarrett, have you had a lot of gear trauma in your life?
Not a lot, but some.
But some.
Yeah.
I'm excited to hear about these. Bryce, have you had some good gear trauma stories?
No, bad gear trauma stories. I have so many bad, just traumatic events, really. You know, honestly, we should have probably consulted a therapist before even doing this episode.
No, this is the therapy episode.
Oh, okay.
This is the therapy episode. I guess this is a good time to introduce. This is our guest for today. This is Bryce. He's a videographer. He's joining us today. And we're very excited to have him here on the podcast. Bryce, are you excited to be here on the podcast?
You know, it's actually really cool being on a photography podcast because, you know, I mean, as much as you know about videography, it's you know, isn't videography just 60 photos a minute, you know?
It's literally just like quick photography, you know?
Honestly, could you imagine taking literally 60 photos every minute for the next 8 hours?
Just continuous shots. That would be a time. That would be fun. What else are we going to talk about today? We do have a special topic for the end, but we're not going to bring that up until a little bit later. Very cool. Well, I guess we'll start it out with we're on our way to a wedding, and there's a lot of things that specifically I do to prep for a wedding. I know there's specific things that Jared does to prep for a wedding, specific things that everybody does, including Bryce. Bryce does prep for weddings too.
Nice. Like somebody, everybody, and then, and Bryce. Like, so I'm not in those first two groups, but I was included at some point.
I realized that once I got too far into that, and then I was like, yeah, me, Jared, other people, and then I was like, oh yeah, Bryce is in the back seat of the car. But yeah, so everybody has different ways that they get prepped for weddings and events in general, and I'm excited to hear the differences between 1, prepping as a photographer, and 2, prepping as a videographer, because there's a big difference in gear. Jared, do you prefer bringing a small amount of gear or lots of backups?
I have 3 bags right now.
They're small bags, too.
Are they really small bags?
Yeah, the photographer bags are tiny. It's ridiculous.
They are pretty small. I actually only have 1 bag because I'm cool, you know. And I'm also just the second shooter today, so there's not a ton of stress on me, which is awesome. But Jarrett, why don't you give us some of your, what do you do to prepare for a wedding? Like, whether it's gear, like mentally, like what are your steps beforehand?
Well, after slapping myself in the face, no, I'm just kidding. So basically, all I do to prepare for a wedding, is I do a lot of last minute stuff, guys. But as far as the gear preparation goes, the gear doesn't really leave the bag. All I do is plug the batteries in. Truly. I know people who like clean their cameras and stuff, but I don't do that for every wedding. I just kind of do that as it needs to happen. And then obviously, you know, I call the client, you know, the week of the wedding to make sure everything in the timeline's still going good. But as far as gear goes, I just got to make sure I bring the 3 bags.
I mean, it's kind of cool to have just like 3 set bags that are just like, they're like your like event bags, right? They're like your wedding bags.
Yeah. So 1 bag is for anything that I go out and shoot. And then when I'm doing a wedding, the 2 additional bags come with. The 1 bag is for everything else.
That's really cool. I just have the one bag at the moment, which is like, it's cool and it's convenient because I only have one bag, but it's also like I get the eerie feeling that I'm not bringing enough gear. But you know, no. I have everything for today. I have everything I need for today. Maybe. Now, in like, do you feel like you have to mentally prepare like before weddings? Like, do you get nervous? Like, what?
Well, I will say that after 11 years of shooting weddings, I pretty much just kind of roll in and just roll into it. Yeah.
I definitely think it's a case of like Darrett's been doing it for long enough that he knows exactly what he needs, and I mean he's seen a lot of contingencies, so he knows what is actually necessary to prepare for and all that. I feel like, you know, me and Daniel a little earlier into our careers comparatively, and we bring more sometimes, but with photography, you don't have to bring a ton. He's got his bag, he's got backup batteries, all this stuff, and it just fits in a small case. That's the only difference, you know?
It's true. I have a lot of. I used to bring a lot of like backups on backups, which is a good thing to have, but also then you have a lot of stuff, like a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, I do carry 2 cameras and 5 flashes.
How many flashes do you use?
and 7 lenses, just because I shoot primes. And I use actually the 5th flash is actually unnecessary because it rarely comes out, but the 4 flashes I do use because sometimes there will be an instance where I have 3 flashes off camera and 1 flash on camera, so that's 4 flashes right there, just depending on. Yeah, just to light up the whole scene.
Now, do you always have the same flash dedicated to the 5th one, or do you fairly like rotate them just so that 5th one doesn't feel left out? You know.
So the 5th one is different because it is a high-speed sync flash where all my other flashes are bare bones and they are radio connected, but they're manual only. So
you can't expand outside of that ecosystem.
Yeah. So I actually the flash equipment I chose is actually Young Nuo, and the reason why is because there's a lot of mishaps on weddings, and I actually had to just replace 2 of them. They're about $70 to $85 a piece, and so every time you break one, it's only $85 instead of $400.
Yeah.
Well, I think just my speed light is like 120, but I have the 8200 Pro, which is about $300. So that's why I have the big tripod stand for that, specifically so it doesn't fall over, because that's the last thing I want is to have to pay another $300. Do you have like a go-to like brand that you like to use for most of your equipment, or not really?
Oh, yeah. So basically, just shooting mostly Nikon, and then obviously the flash gear is Young Nuo. I think I might have one. Nope, I stopped buying Sigma, but.
That sounds like a story to why.
Oh, the story? Oh, yeah. There's a lot of back focusing issues that I've noticed in a lot of the gear. Specifically the 30mm Sigma. And then when they released the art series, the lenses were great, but for some reason on I don't know if it's me or what, but everything back focuses for me.
What's back focusing?
Okay. Yeah, so basically it focuses where if like your focus point is somebody's face, instead of focusing on that, it's actually focusing on the wall behind them instead.
I can see that trouble. No, that's the 30mm Tamron lens.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah. So Bryce, this is your first video wedding, second video wedding? What would you say?
Yeah, I've done video at events. We primarily got into this from DJing. I want to branch into video because it's something I just think it's so cool. And, you know, I mean, if you go to a wedding, you see the videographers always wearing the most expensive stuff, you know? And I found out it's because they get paid the most, you know? Me, I don't get paid the most yet, but I do got spunk, right? And I got spunk and about 10 G's worth of gear. And let's hope that pays off one day. You know?
Now, did you bring all 10 G's of gear with you?
Pretty close to it, honestly. It's because the most expensive things are the bare bones necessities, and that's why you have to drop money on the camera, the lenses, and then when it comes to video specifically, you have to have a lot of add-ons that make shooting something you can't reset and say like, oh, let's do that take again. You can't do that at a wedding. You can't stop the wedding and be like, hey, can we just do the thing one more time? Actually,
So I want to interject really fast. Actually, I saw a video where this couple kissed and then was trying to walk down the aisle, and the videographer, it was either the videographer or the photographer, was like, no, stop, wait, we missed that, do it again.
we missed it. Huh? They missed it. Well, I don't know what else they were looking at, man. I mean, sometimes there are some squirrels that are like, look how fat that squirrel is. Oh my god. But I turn my head instead of the camera now because I'm a professional, right? I've learned. But yeah, so this is my first time doing for a wedding specifically. I've done a lot of like filming DJs and stuff, and when you film it, it's about telling a story, and it's about most of all it's about giving the client what they want out of the video. And I think with DJs, they want to look cool. They want to look like the party revolves around them, right? But with a wedding, it's not so much looking cool. It's about looking like fancy, sophisticated. Luckily, interviewing this client on a phone call, they're like, well, the most sophisticated that we're gonna be at this wedding is I got a harpist because my mother complained that it wasn't fancy enough. So I got a harpist, and I was like, there you go. You can't get fancier. The harp is the fanciest instrument, just objectively, right? I mean, exactly. But it used to be the violin, but then bluegrass kind of messed that up. But
Damn bluegrass. So even though I know a lot of this stuff was like last minute as far as like getting this wedding and stuff, but what's some of the prep work that you put in, like the beforehand prep work that you put in, like as far as like gathering gear and like setting up a plan and everything like that?
well, what's cool is, like I said, the reason the gear cost is so high, it's because I wanted everything to be grab and go, so if I were called on last minute, I'd be able to just run out the door with everything in cases, knowing where it is, and getting organized is what costs a lot, but it's up front. This wedding specifically, I was contacted about it 3 days before the wedding. Drafted up a contract last night, and it was, so the best part is that all I had to do, like Jarrett said, was the equipment's in the bags and in the cases. You take out the batteries and charge them. Like where Jarrett's just charging batteries, for the camera, I got to charge stuff for like a field monitor, for a gimbal, for all sorts of stuff. But I do have a completely wireless setup that I got to make sure all the batteries are going, because we don't have time we can't plug in the power into the wall, right? And when it comes to gear prep, I actually kind of eliminated some of that too. I run 4 lenses, and I just run, a wide angle, a normal, and a zoom, and then I have just like one prime to go in between. But honestly, I'm doing 2 cameras today as well. One's just going to sit on a tripod and with record on the whole time. The other one's going to be in my hands. I'm going to run around with it for some B-roll and just some stuff I can cut into. So getting that prepped was easy once I bought the many cases and bags to make everything organized. Which, when it comes to gear fear and that whole case thing, that I've had some rude wake up calls. But for me, professionals in the field have advised, like, it feels good to go out to a gig where your stuff could fall out of a moving car and be fine, and that's where my standard is, right? It's just yeah.
Pelican cases. Oh my
Oh dear.
Oh dear.
Dear.
Oh my god.
Well, that's near death number 1.
But my gear would have been fine. All right.
He would have been set. Now, speaking of gear, you mentioned that you have 7 lenses with you right now, and you have 4 lenses with you right now, 5 lenses with you right now. I have 2 lenses with me. Out of your 7 lenses, which is your go-to, your favorite lens?
It's gotta be the 50mm. I know it's the base lens that most people choose, but it's honestly great for if you are shooting portraits, and then if they're like, hey, we need 5 people in the photo, you could just hit it with that 50.
50.
Yeah, it covers all your bases. But I know you didn't ask this, but but I'm working with a 35, a 50, a 60 millimeter macro to get some detail shots.
That's cool.
An 85 millimeter, a 24 millimeter, a 135 millimeter, and then a 70 to 200 is my only zoom lens. And that's because when you're shooting a ceremony, you have to get some photos up close with the ceremony. And if I'm only shooting primes, I'm going to be carrying around a 200 millimeter prime, and that's going to be heavy.
Yeah, that would be I think the wedding that we did the other day, I think the photographer was carrying around like a 200 millimeter
they
prime.
freaking holding there. They just had to hold that lens like it was like the whole weight of the camera was front heavy.
That's funny. Yeah, shooting prime is cool. I like shooting prime. Right now I just have a 50 millimeter, which is my go-to lens. It's a 1.4, even though I never shoot 1.4.
So you have to drop that. Yeah, it was an expensive 50. Okay, like
I gotta mention it's expensive. And then I have a 24 to 120, I think. And that's just a 4. It's not all that great, but it works. It works for those cool kind of close-ups. I really need a better zoom lens. But Bryce, what lenses are you working with, and which one is your favorite?
yeah. So when it comes to like the videographer's perspective on this, like I bet you could ask 100 photographers, and 80 of them would say, yeah, 50 mil's good. And then the other 20 would be like, yeah, everyone's using a 50. That's why I use a 35 pancake, because I'm a hipster. But here's the thing is like, I'm like that too. So I invested heavily in a wide lens, goes 16 to 28. Very nice. Internal zoom, great on a gimbal. But the thing is unless you're as far as I am away from Daniel right now, that wide lens, is gonna just make them ants in your picture, right? So like whatever. Well, I also have a 70 to 200 I invested a lot of money in. It's nice, 2.8 all the way, but it's like it's too heavy and long to put on a gimbal reliably, and it's also like if you take it handheld or anything, it's shaky because it's so narrow, right? So the one that I end up using the most is my normal zoom, right? I have a 27 to 70, and it's the kit lens that came with my Sony. And it's funny because it's like, well, I want to upgrade that, and they have a 2.8 like full normal zoom range from Sony, G Master 2. That BZ is $2,300, and I'm like, okay, maybe I'll wait on that. I got Sony.
Where did Jarrett go?
Oh, he's going to pee, I bet. Because like he was driving like he had to pee,
I think he always drives like he has to pee. What's up?
I don't see a Subway anymore.
I don't see a Subway anymore either.
Oh yeah, we were going to Subway, huh?
Oh yeah.
I think this was supposed to be a different gas station. I think Circle K bought it out.
No.
Now we know. But
Anyway, now that we had that lovely little break where we talked about things that are stricken from the record that Jarrett will never hear, continue where you were going, Bryce.
oh yeah, so it's funny because like I said, I invested a lot of money to get the super wide and the super narrow, but the one I use the most is that zoom, because I do like to zoom with my feet, running around, but at the same time you just can't get close sometimes. So 70s usually you can get, no matter how far you are, you can get close enough to use a 70 when you're like handheld with the gimbal. But I'm just gonna all day on that static camera, I'm gonna leave my my telephoto on there, the 70 to 200, and I think that'll cover me. And then I do have this 50 1.8, but it's so bright outside today that I would be shooting way above that. I'd be shooting, because I always keep my shutter speed the same. So it's like,
It's a 1.8. Ah, man.
it only costs $250 too. That's my real shame,
That sucks though.
It's fine. I'll be a real professional one day.
I could loan you my 1.4 one day.
Yeah, definitely. I'll buy a converter too, so that I have no autofocus.
So, real quick, Bryce, I'm gonna need you to ramble. You said zoom with your feet, all right? That's a photography saying. So I'm gonna need you to ramble off as many photography sayings as you can in 30 seconds.
Fast and wide, if you know what I mean. Yeah, take that and exaggerate it. You know, I hear that one a ton. F-stop. That's a fun one. That's a tough one because it's like.
We'll fix it in post.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
that's what F
can
stands for.
can
We'll
you
fix it.
can you Photoshop that?
Can you make me look younger?
Dude, I hate that one.
Now I heard you mention Jarrett mentioned feet.
Wait, yeah. That's the.
So this is a good segue into this. This is our special topic for the day. Jarrett sent me this one specifically, and this is a question dedicated to Bryce, seeing as he is a guest. And I think anytime we have a guest, we should have at least one dedicated question towards the guest. And our question for you today, Bryce, which thank you for joining us.
I don't like the look in Jared's face, but yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Bryce, what's your shoe size?
Oh, my shoe size. Well, that's a oddly specific question with potentially a myriad of assumptions you can make based off of that. But yeah, my shoe size right now, the boots I'm wearing are a size 13 men's. Yeah. Here, let me check real quick. That would be UK 69.
That's a good number. I like that. A UK 69. Now, Jarrett, I'm gonna need a little backstory of why you decided this was the question for Bryce today.
It was a joke question.
He's got big feet. Hey, Jarrett, what do they say about people with big feet?
They have to get personalized shoes because
Everybody has to get personalized shoes in their size.
you can't find their shoes in the shoe store.
That is actually true.
So Daniel, what is your? No, I'm just kidding. So what day did you just wake up one day and you're like, yo, I want a camera?
I mean, I wouldn't say that I just woke up one day and I wanted a camera.
There comes a time in every boy's life when they wake up.
There is a day when he becomes 12 that, he just thinks cameras are cool,
You just can't stop thinking about cameras,
Actually, the way that I got my first camera was not how I thought. It's not how you would think the story would go. Somebody was just like, hey, I have this camera that I'm not using anymore. Like, do you want to buy it? And it was cheaper. And so I got it. And I still have that camera to this day. It's like this big. It's a little, what is it? Lumix? I think it's a Lumix. I don't know. It shoots terrible. It had a fixed lens on it with that telescope zoom. But yeah, so I bought that camera and I started taking pictures and I thought this is really cool. I enjoy doing this. I guess my big thing was I enjoyed capturing moments in time that were never going to happen again. This moment that you just captured in a photo is never going to happen again.
So your love for photography ended up being event based, as not like an event, but a passing moment.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. That's definitely where it stemmed from. And as I've gotten more experienced in photography, I've found other enjoyments in it, like the networking and being able to create something beautiful out of either A, nothing, B, being in situations that people wouldn't normally see as artistic and being able to create an artistic situation out of them.
That's pretty cool.
I like the end of that. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So we do have our guest in the back here. Let's talk about you, Bryce. Let's talk about you.
Hi. Hello. I'm Bryce. 24 years young, and I came to Michigan to party. And no, let me do that again. Hold on. Okay.
Bryce, let's hear a little bit about you.
Hi, my name is Bryce, and I am pretty recent to video, and but I've been at events for the last like 7 years of my life, like every weekend, and I got into the whole thing through DJing, which you go and you're making the party happen, right? You're helping really create the fun of the day, and it's something that sticks with you, right? But I think what sticks with you longer than that would be, capturing that moment, right? And video is very evocative for me. I mean, a lot of people get into this from the angle of like storytelling and like making movies, but for me, I'm trying to just capture like feelings on camera versus telling a story. I mean, you remember not the events of the day, like what you wore, or like the little tiny things. You remember like the overall just overwhelming amount of feeling you had that day. And so I hope to like capture stuff that gets on that level for sure.
It's really cool. It's really cool. So what was the moment that made you decide like videography is what I want to do? Like this is what I want to get into. This is what I want to do. And how long ago was that?
It's actually funny. When I was like really young, my little sister had a lot of like, she was like in gymnastics and in like dance, and she was in sports and doing all this stuff, and we would always go and I'd be on the sidelines, and my mom bought a video, like a camcorder, right? Handheld, it's just you push go and it's all digital, like digital zoom and everything. And my mom would try and like record it because she was like, I want to be able to watch these later. And she would, I don't know what it was, man, but when she would do it, it'd just be like it'd be like, she would say, she was like, it's nauseating to watch, the amount of like shake and the amount of like not being able to focus on anything. And even though the zoom was like on your finger, she would have to look down at the camera to like zoom in and then bring it back up. So the bar wasn't exactly high, but she always praised me on being able to be like, wow, you're so good at like recording Mia's stuff. And I really, so here, you hold the camcorder when we go to the next one. I think it's just because she didn't really like want to do it. I just thought it was the coolest thing. So I was out there at the camcorder the whole time, like, whoa, and I'd like zoom in on Mia, and I'd be like, zoom out, and be like, oh, and then like, I just thought it was the coolest thing. And then we watched those videos back like years later, and it was just like, I was like, yeah, I recorded that, yeah. And then I'd like look over to the side and record something dumb, and I'd be like, why did I do that? But at the same time, it's like, I think that's what inspired me to, want to hold the camera. And then the other thing is I've been moved by the quality and the just amazing stuff you can do through the medium of video. And now more than ever, that's in people's hands. It's in our pockets, right? So you just have a phone and you can still create stuff that can change the world just through recording a short video, right? So I figured, spend a little bit more, and maybe you can make something that's really worth it. Hopefully.
All right, so now it's the podcast jingle compilation.
Shut up. Let me take your.
My name is Jarrett, and I'm here to say that I love taking photos in a major way. I like taking photos at night, but especially at day, because the lighting is good.
My name is Bryce, shoe size 13. I get together and eat McChicken sandwiches. God dang, that started off so good.
Jared just yeeted his receipt in my seat. No, receipt at my feet. I don't know what to say, because it's that kind of day. Jared's a bae, and Bryce is okay.
Oh, thanks,
Shut up. Shut up. Shut up.
Let me
Shut up. Take your You always fuck it up.
Shut up. Just shut up. Shut up. Just shut up. Just shut up. Shut up. And let me take picture.
Just completely blown out audio.
He's a phantom. Danny Phantom. When he was just 14, he found a really weird camera. It was built to see a world unseen. He took a photo and things just changed. His brain got all rearranged. He's gonna take your photo. Oh yeah, he knows what he's here to do. He's here to take your photo for me and you. He's a phantom.
Bro, this is the future of podcasting.
2 hours later.
Okay, so this concludes our
Wait, we're not done.
This concludes this segue.
Oh yeah, we didn't ever.
Oh my God! How did we? Okay, so topic number two. Topic number two. We literally just dropped. Okay, so what's a time that you did something to your gear that you didn't mean to do, or you say it.
What's the time that I did something to my gear that I regret?
Yes.
Oh. No, I'm just kidding. Let's reword that a little bit. We're now going to talk about traumatic situations involving gear trauma. We got all humorous, and now
Trauma.
I will begin. 3 instances. One
Start with your name and how
One time I dropped my 85mm, picked it up, it was fine. That's fine. Yeah, it still works. One time I dropped my 300, my Nikon D300 camera, and I broke the LCD screen, and then it went.
was it fine?
It wasn't fine. I just got rid of the camera because it was now unusable. Okay, so that leads me to the third segue. When I went to a wedding, and after I parked in the parking spot to go inside, I realized I did not have any camera gear with me. And I saw if anyone could go get it for me and bring it to me, and everybody was busy. I was a little bit late, not too late actually. I think maybe 15 to 30 minutes. I'm not 100% sure. It was a long time ago. I made it up to them by staying 3 hours over, but I had to drive back.
All the way back.
I had to drive all the way back. Luckily, it was only a 30-minute drive.
That's not bad.
Yeah, so I was early, then be early. That's the moral of the story. Be early just in case you leave your gear, so that when you are late, it's like 10 minutes late.
Bryce, any trauma?
Yeah, mine's video based, so we'll do it after. But
Alright,
go
alright.
photography stuff.
So, as far as like event damage or like dropping anything, the food.
No worries.
I can't actually say that like I've had like event damage or like freaked out. I'm gonna go with my top story, which it's a crazy story that happens to involve that my camera was on my person at the time. So, noisy crinkles.
Oh, are you trying to take audio? My bad, man. All right.
my bad. So it was in Colorado. One of my friends has a hot air balloon, and he told me, I know this is a good start. This is a good start. My friend was like, "Hey, we're gonna do a launch. Like, you should come take pictures because he needed graduation photos too." So I went out and took some pictures like for graduation, and then he was like, "I'll pay you by taking you up in like the hot air balloon." And so I give me your pickle. So after we took the photos, we got the hot air balloon set up. It was myself, it was my friend, and then there were 2 other people in the basket when we went up. So we get up. It's beautiful, gorgeous flight. And there's another balloon there as well. And we're watching them. And we decided we found this good field to land in. Good field. So we're coming down, and right in front of this field, there's like a ravine. It's like 20, 30 feet deep. It's got like dirt walls and everything like that. And it goes down to a little river. And so as we're coming in for a landing, you know, they got it timed perfectly right that they're coming in, they're gonna land in that field, and all of a sudden the wind shifts and it starts pointing the opposite way. So we're coming in and we watch the balloon in front of us dip a little too low and it smacks into the side of the ravine and then bounces up and over the ravine and lands in the field. It's on its side. And so we're like, oh man, oh God, that's crazy. And we're like, but that's not going to happen to us. And I look over at the pilot and he's like, yeah, we're good. And then he looks at me and he just has this face of, we're not good. Like, we're not good, bro. And I think he was saying, no, we're okay. Cause the other two that were in the basket were starting to freak out. He's like, no, we're good. But I would hold on. Like, I would just brace, just in case. So we start coming in, and you can just tell, based on our trajectory, that we are headed right for that ravine wall. And so I had to brace, but I also had my camera. So I just placed my camera between my knees. It was still like on my shoulder strap. So I placed it between my knees and just hoped to God that like nothing happened. And so we came in and the basket slams into the side of the ravine, bounces off, hits again, and then drags up the side of the ravine. So dirt just comes off of the wall and covers all of us in dirt. And that's not the end, because we came up out of the ravine and landed, but there was still air in the hot air balloon and the wind was still going. So we came up over the top and then dragged sideways, like still in the basket, dragged about 40 feet as he was letting air out of the balloon. I was not screaming, no.
I would have been. I'm like, ah!
I mean, it was terrifying. I was like, because where I was in one of the top corners of the balloon or the basket when we were sideways. So I was holding on in an effort not to fall into the other people that were down on the other end. And so we dragged about 40 feet and the air finally got let out of the balloon. And so I get up and my camera is just completely smothered in dirt. And thankfully, after a lot of cleaning, everything still worked. But yes, that is my that's my big gear trauma. That's my big gear trauma.
That is life trauma.
It actually was life trauma. One of the guys from the other balloon had to go to the hospital. We had to call like 911 and stuff like that. So it was quite the trauma. But you know what? It's an experience. It's a story that I can tell.
Anytime you call an emergency line and you have to start with, okay, so my friend has a hot air balloon. It's a rough one, you know? That's how you know.
All right, Bryce. I'm going to pass it to you. Give us your gear trauma. I'm going to eat some food.
Hi, I'm Bryce, and I've been a gear addict since I first started. So I finally paid money for a gimbal, and then I got a viewfinder to put on it, and I got all that stuff out, and we were out at a content day shoot, and I was running with it, and you can tighten it down with like a ring, and there's like a ring you can screw with your hands, and then you can also torque it with like a wrench. And I was like, that's fine. It's good enough. And I was running, and this very, very expensive field monitor just drops to the concrete, and it goes. And I thought it was done for, but luckily they have like a metal casing and everything, so you know that paint got a scratch on it, but other than that, it was fine. It was good, and it was scary. But it wasn't my first scare either. I did a shoot. I got way in over my head, and a guy was like, hey, we want to film my band. It's over at this theater that's like 2 hours away from you. And it's, we're going to do all this stuff. And I was like, okay, well, for everything you're describing, I'm going to need 3 cameras. So I had to rent 2. And I was like, I had a slider as well, and I was just putting my slider on a tripod, and I put that tripod with the slider on the stage, and as it goes back and forth, the tripod's in the middle, so the weight goes to the left side, then the right side, left side, the right side. Well, they were playing so loud that the bass was slowly rattling my tripod towards the edge of the stage. I didn't realize, so I was running around, and all of a sudden the slider gets to the far side and just tips, falls off the stage with the rental camera on it. Nice lens, of course the slider, the tripod. It falls the 6 feet onto the ground, plus however high up it was on the tripod. And I was so sad. But I picked it up and everything was fine. Everything on there was fine. And I just felt very lucky about it. But
it was at this time that I started feeling very, very nauseous, so we decided to wrap things up as quick as we could.
Are we gonna close out? No, I'm not actually gonna throw up. I just got nauseous. Okay.
Yeah.
So that concludes the first official episode. So technically episode 1, right? Right? Yeah.
Not episode 0, episode 1.
Yeah, episode 1. We do have episode 0. It's gonna be available very soon. I'm talking like this is live for some reason. I'm like, yeah, it's gonna be available soon. Episode 0 is gonna come out before episode 1.
Way too fast.
But yeah, so we're on episode 1 right now. This was fun. This is enjoyable. Bryce, have you enjoyed being a guest on the podcast?
I really like doing stuff like this because, I mean, it's literally just recording the BSing we'd have done normally, but with some prompts. So I think it's a lot of fun, and I would love to be on again if you need a low-tier guest.
Well, we would love to have you back on the podcast. Jarrett, how did you enjoy today's podcast?
It was interesting doing it in the car, but it was my suggestion. So no, pretty cool doing it this way, just as we're spending hours in the car on our way to a wedding anyways.
Yeah. Hanging out in the car, bullshitting together. Yeah, this will be available on Spotify and YouTube. Or shut up and take a picture. I'm Daniel. This is Jarrett. Jarrett, do you have any final words?
Oh yeah. No, not really. Oh yeah. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook. No, not Facebook. Who uses Facebook? Follow me on Instagram and TikTok. The TikTok is at Michigan Photographer, and my Instagram. God, I have so many Instagram pages, guys. But Alice Hart Photography.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Bryce, where can we find you?
I'm on Instagram under Decibel Production. That's DECIBEL POR Decibel Production on Instagram.
And you can also find me at Daniel Ray Photography 505 on Instagram. Yes, it's 505, New Mexico homegrown.
As you can kind of tell, all of us are very ADHD and we are terrible at bringing things to a close. So we hope you guys enjoyed Shut Up and Let Me Take Your Picture. We are very excited to have you guys listen to our future episodes.